surprised. I mean, she had incredible spring in her legs, and she had great energy and vitality. She was awkward and, you know, wore ill-fitted clothes and just had raw talent just coming out of her ears. And I mean, you'd have to be blind not to recognize it.
After 1 year under Carol's tutelage, 11-year-old Michelle finished 9th in the 92 National Junior Championships.
This was a little kid who obviously had a lot of energy and was in a big hurry. Frank Carroll goes out of town for the weekend. Frank's her coach, he's her mentor, he's in charge of every part of her skating life. Michelle, not even 12 years old yet, tells her dad that Frank said it was okay, and they go and they take what is called the senior test. Michelle takes that test, but this all occurred while Frank was away for the weekend, and you can imagine his surprise when he returned and said, "You did what?"
And I came back and found out that she had done that, and I was absolutely stark raving furious. What is done, you have to move on. And I just said, well, Frank, you can't go back and change this. It's happened. Now what?
The next season, 12-year-old Michelle astonished the skating world by qualifying for the 1993 U.S. Senior Nationals and placing 6th. 1 year later, she was 2nd at Nationals. That summer, after her first Worlds, she went on tour with the older skaters, bringing her mom along as a chaperone.
I don't want to watch any skating when I'm on the road, but I would go out and watch her every night because I really loved that she had this soul.
After a summer on tour, Michelle finished 2nd at the 95 Nationals. The next month, she would skate a perfect program at Worlds, landing more triples than any other skater in the competition. And yet, she finished 4th.
I really looked young. I had no makeup. And that was like my statement. Because I didn't need makeup. It was all about my skating. And I landed all my jumps perfectly. And when I placed 4th, I knew that something that had to change. If I had skated my best and still ended up 4th, with no medal, I needed to do something. The judges were telling me something.
Michelle Kwan should have easily been in the medals, and instead was 4th. And you can make a strong case that she should have won that World Championships. But instead what was happening was the judges were clearly saying she looks too young. She's a little jumper. That's all she is.
Plan shifted into how do I make this little awkward, wonderfully talented girl into a majestic, beautiful skater.
So in the fall of 1995, Frank Carroll turned to choreographer Laurie Nickel to help him transform 15-year-old Michelle Kwan. Michelle was to portray Salome on the ice.
I sat Michelle down and explained who Salome was, that she was exactly her age, and how she was very provocative, and how she got the attention of the king, and how it ended up with the head of John the Baptist on a plate. And her eyes opened up and she said, wow, cool. And so I thought, great, this is wonderful. But then there was Danny Kwan.
I'm kind of old-fashioned, you know, and I just don't like to see my girl, you know, have put the makeup on when she was 13, 14, 15 years old.
My dad's like, makeup? What are you talking about, makeup? You can't wear makeup. It'll get in your way when you're concentrating on a jump.
To portray this provocative role, she would have to look the part. She'd have to wear a costume that was provocative. She'd have to wear the makeup. And she was a very traditional Chinese little girl from a traditional Chinese family, and she never wore makeup. So it was a sell because I had to say, look, Michelle's, you know, very, very nice young girl, innocent girl. Girls her age, you know, dance in New York in the ballet. They wear makeup. They portray all these parts. It doesn't mean anything. They're just doing an act.
It took a little while for my parents to sort of agree to it. After that, it was still no makeup off the ice.
But a new look was only part of the new image. More important was the transformation happening to Michelle herself.
I really learned a lot in learning how to feel the music as if you were performing with it, instead of just going out there and skating and jumping and skating and jumping and spinning. And so in '96, I came out and I had makeup and I was skating Salome. And I really got into the character and really very dramatic, and people didn't recognize me. That That was fun.
Skating the Salome program, Michelle claimed her first national title in 1996. She headed to Worlds determined to beat the favorite, Liu Chen.
At those Worlds, Liu Chen skated first and got a few sixes. And Michelle Kwan and Frank Carroll, her coach, were hidden away in one of their cubby holes, and they thought they couldn't hear anything. It was like soundproof, except they heard the 6 O's coming in from the public address system.
Michelle turned to me and said, "I don't think I can beat that." And I had about maybe 10 seconds to say something to her that would turn her around and make her believe, yes, you can beat that, and you can win this championship. And I said to her, yes, her second mark was 6 O's, and she's a wonderful artistic skater, but you didn't listen to the first mark. It was all 5 8s. I said, they've left that 5 9 for you. You know you can do this. You know you've beaten her this year already at Skate America. You know you're better. So believe you can do this.
Michelle got 6.0s of her own and took the title. At 15, she was now officially the best skater in the world. Overnight, 15-year-old Michelle Kwan had become world famous. Her life changed dramatically. She began earning thousands of dollars a night as a headliner on tour.
She is the 1996 world champion, Michelle Kwan.
Young as she was, she suddenly found she was a role model to others. Yet somehow life at the top was harder than expected. Now her every move was scrutinized. She was growing up under a microscope.
I don't know if Michelle felt different after becoming world champion. It was the way other people perceived her and treated her that was so different.
Once you hit the top, it's like, where do I go but down? And I worried a lot, and I had a really hard time concentrating. My body changed a lot, like every girl does. And, you know, in the media, it's like, oh, it's her body changing. She's falling on triple Lutz because of her weight, and, you know, she's growing and she's turning into a woman. And I'm like, this is really embarrassing.
After becoming world champion, Michelle's father had signed a deal for his daughter with a company that made skates, but Michelle couldn't adjust to the new skates. She headed to the 1997 Nationals to defend her title, feeling uncertain.
Triple toe, double toe, and then a fall off the end of it.
I remember going backstage. I can see it right now in front of me, and she was in the distance, and I looked over at her, and she looked at me and her eyebrows, you know, wrinkled, and she started crying. And so I went over to her and I just hugged her.
That night, Michelle left an opening for her rivals, and Tara Lipinski stepped through.
Tara Lipinski was just driven, and I'd never seen a little girl quite like that before. The minute I saw her on the ice, I could tell she was not intimidated about anything, and she was just, you know, just there to show off.
A few weeks later in Lausanne, Switzerland, Michelle lost her world title to Tara Lipinski.
So now Tara Lipinski is the reigning national and world champ, stealing those titles from Michelle Kwan, who had them in '96. It's a real defined, two defined resumes, certainly. You've got Michelle Kwan and then Tara Lipinski, and now they're both converging. They're just going to meet in this incredibly intense 1997-98 Olympic year.
Less than a year before the '98 Olympics, Michelle needed to reinvent herself again.
Coming off of the '97 season and all the trouble that Michelle had, she's just cruising along. I mean, all systems go through that year heading into the '98 Nationals.